What have you found like CrossFit communities to be like? So, like I said to you when you were like, you called me a CrossFit guy, and I was like, I probably will train CrossFit at one point. You're a bastard.
Yeah,
and then I was like, you're a prick,
Yeah.
because now if you start peddling shit about me in the CrossFit community, I'm not going to be able to go to them. Because I've seen a few people already like commenting stuff. Your sister was at me and all that. But what put me off a wee bit was I went to that one in Bali, and it was one of the cliquiest places I've ever been in my life, and it was full of like online coaches and stuff, but the typical influencer online coach that's all their videos is just them like with their top off snatching whatever, and I found that they were all nice on the surface, but it felt like
you weren't a part of it.
It felt like being in school and not being allowed to sit with people.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It felt like being in the common room.
100%. Yeah.
And I wasn't there for long. I could have broken in if I wanted to. I could have like been fake and but I was like, fuck this, man.
So I would personally ignore that experience. And
that's what I did say when I said that is that's Bali, I reckon.
Yeah, so
I
think it's less about it being Bali, and I think it's more about it being that specific gym. So the thing with CrossFit is,
and also I met the guy that runs it and the business owners.
Unreal.
Sound.
Completely. And what they aren't and are in control of is the community aspect, right? So that's a very visitor gym, right? So the bulk of people, probably 90% of them, aren't from there. They just are there to visit and they're dropping in and blah blah. So what's like unique about it is CrossFit, although it's not, they're called affiliates, it's not like an affiliate marketing scheme. So what they do is you buy into the brand. You say, right, I can put CrossFit over the door, and they basically leave you alone to do it as you want. They can give you guidance, but they let you do it. And so that means that each place is going to be unique to the person who owns it. And it's just like anything else. You're going to get good owners and you're going to get bad owners. But typically within it, you'll build these little communities. So a perfect example, West being here, CrossFit Airdrie, right? So I dropped
That's the one I was going to try.
So I dropped into there randomly. I was working at another CrossFit comp. I was taking photos. And so I dropped in.
It's in the football stadium, isn't it?
It's absolutely massive. It's huge. It's big. Is it in the football stadium? I don't fucking know.
It says the sign on the Airdrie stadium.
Huge, big. So it's in there. It's on like one side of it. And I never met any of the people in there before. Never ever before. I went in and then ended up getting followed and following like 10 or 11 people on Instagram with an interaction between two classes. And so like the Scottish and UK CrossFit community is unreal. There are a few like, kind of call them rotten apples, but it's just a result typically of ego where, for example, where we are, there's a couple of CrossFit boxes close to each other. And so sometimes some of them will see each other as competition, or they'll see each other as pals. And the ones that see each other as pals, those ones all over the country work incredibly well together. And you can just wander into somewhere and they'll welcome you in. You'll feel, and actually Bali's difficult because everyone's ripped, everyone's in shape, everyone can snatch 100 kilos and fucking out. Whereas in every other gym, it's 90-10 the other way. It's 90% normal humans who are just there because they like to have friends who work out with them. And it's 10% of this like athlete-esque person. So yeah, I wouldn't let that thwart your kind of perception of it, but it's very much down to the owners and the coaches all working together. And so it kind of ebbs and flows that way, where sometimes it can be quite shit because it can click off that way. Like if you imagine there's some high performing
people start shagging each other.
Well, that
was what was clearly going on in Bali, by the way. That's what I could see. I was like, you're shagging. You've shagged her. She hates you. I was like, do you know what I mean? I was like, you could see that happening.
And like, yes, that does exist, but you can't remove yourself from it. You can either choose to be engulfed within it, because like there are people who are very culty within it. That
it's like exists. A workplace, isn't it?
It is like a workplace. But like I think that overall, generally, it does very good, and I've seen it do so much good for hundreds and hundreds of people over the years. Like I'm in a unique position where I put on a functional fitness comp. You have to be very specific when you say, because you can't call it CrossFit, because it's not, because CrossFit's a brand. And then, so I've worked in that gym. I've done photos at CrossFit competitions. I've competed all over like the UK. So I've seen from every lens and every aspect. And generally, although there's like some of it is shit, that tends to be in like the competitive space. And because that's the stuff you see in the games on the TV and all that kind of stuff, people think that that is the bulk of it. And then there's this little extra bit. Realistically, when you're in amongst it, it's 90% normal humans just working out to get in shape and be healthy, and 10% of that. And so you'll find that you're welcomed very much into the 90%. But if you see the 10%, you're like, fuck, I'm no welcome there. And that's probably right. You probably aren't welcome there yet. but then you can work your way into getting into it. So that's kind of how that works. But generally, I do believe it's a force for good. And I think
I have zero qualms with CrossFit.
Yeah.
You'll never see me calling out CrossFit.
Yeah. But I think the people who call out mostly, based on experience, I've had people come in, is usually bodybuilders, rugby players, people who come in, get pasted by a girl, like that outlifts them, smokes them in a workout. It's an ego thing, because you have to go in and be shit basically forever. Like, you're never going to be amazing at it, really, especially unless you start at like 12, 13 years old. So using it as a training methodology to be healthier, if you can accept that that's what it is for you, what happens is people get obsessed with it because there's so much stuff, and then they end up injured, and then it gets a bad name. And there's a lot of stuff that looks fucking ridiculous, like flippy flop pull-ups and all that. There's reasons for that, because it's part of the sport of CrossFit and not like the actual realm of CrossFit. And the sport of CrossFit and CrossFit in general are two very different things. But yeah, usually I don't try and give people a sales pitch on it ever. I just say, just fucking drop in and try it, see what you think. And then I'm confident, I couldn't say that a bit badly, but I'm confident that if you were to drop in here somewhere, like I know like a couple of the coaches at Airdrie, if you dropped in, you'd love it. Like, that's just I think I say to anybody, and I don't even give the sales pitch when they go, oh, why should I try CrossFit? I'm like, just go. They're like, oh, why? No bother, just try it.